Some projections are out about the Cubs. They like the position players. They don't like the pitchers. I'm going to tell you why I'm not worried about it.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We are your team every day. I'm Sam Olber with Matt Cozy. We are lifelong fans taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Good show today for you. We're going to talk about, there's some murmurs going around. Is there a chance that the Cubs have a big move left in them? What would that look like? What are the best rosters on paper right now in the National League? Where do the Cubs stack up? But we start with the Zips Fangraphs projections that Matt really brought to my attention last year, because if you are an everydayer and you remember last year, the Cubs graded really, really high with this projection system. A lot of people had them as, mid 80s type wins. Zips had them, I think, in the low 90s. They were totally correct about the Cubs. Unfortunately, they were totally incorrect about the Milwaukee Brewers. But they were very accurate. Matt, tell us real quick before we get into it, what exactly is Zips? Why does it matter?
Yeah, so Zips is a projection system that ideally would project out a full season based on playing time. It's over at Fangraphs. A writer at Fangraphs, Dan Szymborski, created Zips, which is a computer-based system that then analyzed by us humans, and emphasizing offense, defense, and pitching. And it's just purely on paper. There's no really narrative taken into account. It's past performance, matched up with what they think is going to happen in the future. And really, it's the start of projection season. We got the FanDuel win totals last week, but now we have Zips from Fangraphs. Early February, we'll likely get Pacoda projections from Baseball Prospectus. So,
was it Zips that was high on the Cubs last year? Or was it Pacoda? Now I don't remember.
Well, both Zips and Pacoda like the Cubs.
Right.
Zip liked the Cubs clearly over the Brewers, while the Brewers, I remember in real life, won the division by 5 games. This year, Zips projects both teams for the same number of wins, which I'll reveal later, which could be a good or a bad sign, I guess, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, so the thing, when you look at these projections, my takeaway is that the position players graded out really well, the pitchers didn't.
Yeah.
And my conclusion before we get into it is that the homework that I did on Zips is that they do a lot of FIP, which is fielding independent pitching. So they don't account for the good defense that's going to be behind these pitchers. And I don't think they account for the conditions that the pitchers are pitching in, right? So
no.
The Cubs pitchers are always going to look a little bit lucky. They're never going to meet their FIP if it's 50 or 40 degrees, 30 degrees even,
Oh, gosh.
And
it might be, by the way we're trending.
And Tyone says, hey, here's a 92-mile-an-hour fastball. You can hit it 103 at 25 degrees, and it's going to be a flyout 8 times in a row. That's going to grade out bad on the projection system, but it grades out really good on the results system. So I'm not too concerned with the the grading system of the pitchers. I think the position player stuff is strong, but I will say the first thing that did stick out was Cabrera 1.9 WAR only, and Cade Horton 1.7 WAR only, coming off a brilliant year. But when you dive under the hood with Cade, like this system, and by the way, league wide, it's just become a lot of strikeouts, right? Strikeouts. Cade pitched to contact last year. He pitched to his defense. He pitched to the conditions. He only had 97 strikeouts in 118 innings. And so it makes sense, I think, that doesn't grade out projection-wise awesome.
Yeah, and Dan Szymborski calls the starting rotation a very deep rotation that's also very deep in unexcitement.
Yep.
Which, first of all, is potentially great writing, depending on your viewpoint. But it is a little unnerving because we could all see the upside of the rotation, especially after trading for Cabrera, and you mentioned Horton especially. But the computer doesn't really see the upside, and so for me, I do get a little skittish about that. Because while I want to remain optimistic and while I want to believe in the Wrigley conditions, especially the first, certainly the first few series, but maybe beyond, depending on the weather
and the defense,
it does give me a little pause.
Gives me no pause. I don't think it's good writing. From my perspective, I don't think.
Yeah, I think there was a case that the rotation was unexciting, which I don't think is even a word, by the way.
They have Cade Horton.
The Cabrera trade, but after the Cabrera trade, it's not like it's just hinged on him, but I think there's more balance now, and there's different arsenals that can be utilized.
What these projections just don't take into account is it doesn't matter how you pitch when it's the first month or two of the season. You won't be able to hit a home run as long as you get the ball over the plate. So I don't buy it. And maybe I'm
glad they like the bullpen. At least Zips likes the bullpen, I guess.
No, they really like Harvey.
Yeah, Palencia and Harvey, big time.
Yeah, they love Ks, right? These projections love Ks. Position player wise, I think at all's fair. Pete has the highest WAR. Projection at 4.9. You know how I don't love getting into that stat this detailed, but I'll do it. I mean, all the position players are great. Like there's no weak point on the position group except unless you want to make a case for DH. Pete, Hap's a 3 WAR guy, Seiya basically a 3 WAR guy, Dansby 4, Horner right around 4, Bregman near 4, Bush 3.5. I mean, they're pretty loaded at every position. Clearly, Zips values their starting rotation or thinks their starting rotation is their weak point. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really confusing how they projected Steele. He's in lowercase small letters at 1.5, but if you actually scroll down to the actual projections, they have him pitching 130 innings, which we know he's not going to do. And at 130 innings, they actually have him at 2.3 wins above replacement. So I don't know.
I think it was depending on
how many innings. Yeah.
Playing time. Yeah. The offense, it makes sense what you're saying, Sam. And it makes sense that Zips views the offense this way because of the volume of well-established people, for better or worse.
Yep.
Kelly and Amaya, we know, okay, good catching tandem. We know on both sides of the ball, they really have a tremendous infield now, third to first. You mentioned Pete. We know Hap and Seiya will put up their B to B plus seasons, whatever we've typically graded them. And you could say and focus on, if you want, like the Ballesteros for Shaw swap. And I think I probably should more. But really the big swap is Bregman for Tucker. And Bregman, yes, he's less of an offensive threat than Tucker, but he's better defensively. And it's nice to see, at least early on, or at least by the computer, that Zips thinks that's essentially a clean-ish swap. I think Shaw loses a lot of his value becoming a DH, right? Because he could play great defense.
Right.
And we know that Ballesteros could only, hit and put the ball in play. But I think combined with Ballesteros, Shaw, and maybe one other person, yeah, I just don't. If I had a concern level about the offense, it'd be mild.
I think. See, to me, none of these projections change how I feel. My concern about the offense is going to be, can they manufacture enough runs in bad conditions? And will they be able to hit enough home runs in good conditions? And pitching-wise is, no concern at all about bad conditions. And, hey, when they go up against a really good offense on the road, will they be able to get enough strikeouts, et cetera? It's the same thing. I did think it was a little interesting. Did you – I don't know how much you read on this. Did you catch – lot of projection love for Tyler Austin
Yeah, I know. Zips likes Tyler Austin.
Yeah,
I just wonder how many plate appearances he's actually going to give.
right. It could be a lot, could be not a lot at all. I mean, we
Yeah,
have
I would guess it would start with I just don't see him pushing like 300,
well,
400,
well,
but we'll
it
see.
just all depends how Bush looks against
Yeah.
lefties. I mean, if they're going to give Bush a month or two, if he looks bad, Austin's going to play a lot more. Let's talk a little bit more about this and then talk about some other teams' projections and best rosters in the NL. We'll do that coming up next.
Welcome to Locked On Cubs and the Locked On Podcast Network to TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever. Just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with the local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. I did exactly this last tax season. It was highly valuable. It was a great resource. It was very efficient, and it really is the entire package. And for a limited time, you could do this too. Have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150, all in, if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Filing deadline is February 28th for this offer. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today with TurboTax.
All right, we are back here on Locked On Cubs. Thank you for making Locked On Cubs your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Cubs with no interruptions. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedoncubs.supercast.com or check the link in this episode description. Anything else, Matt, catch your eye from the Cubs Zips projection? I have a question for you. When I went down, it has like Jonathan Long on here and stuff. Is that like his minor league projection? Or is that like, because like how could he be projected to hit this? They have him projected for 566 plate appearances. That has to be like, I don't understand that.
Yeah, so that must mean, so I think Zips must be now laying out entire seasons, because there's
At every
really
level.
the more accurate would be like the Zips plus the depth chart on Fangraphs, because Jonathan Long would probably be projected right now to get like, I guess I'm being a little bit loose here, 100 plate appearances.
Right. I mean, it has a bunch of guys you've never even heard of.
But yes, it would overlay their minor league, something in
Yeah.
the computer takes the minors and spits it back as a full year major league guy.
Yeah. I also had some fun with these near age comps for some of these guys.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? They had Justin Steele pitched comp 1 to Tommy John, ironically. The pitcher.
Unfortunate.
Hey, he's a good pitcher.
But Pete was with Andre Dawson, right?
Yeah. I have hold on, I have it right here. I was scrolling and I lost it. I think Pete was with Andre Dawson, and there's somebody else that was really good here, but whatever. I can't. Oh, here it is.
Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna probably do this more times than not, until
Carlos
day.
Gonzalez was the second one too.
All right. Well, this does start to lead into this question, which may be one of the biggest ones of the year.
Mm-hmm.
If your offense is well-rounded and your bullpen is veteran-laden, erring on the side of being solid, and you're excellent defensively,
Mm-hmm.
how good does the starting rotation need to actually be?
Yeah, it's a great question.
It's a real question.
I have learned my lesson over the course of the last 10 years or so, maybe even 11 years, really since 15. Every year we sit here and always whine and get nervous about the Cubs pitching. And it always comes down to offense to me. It just does. It just does.
Yeah,
like
you've said that for a while.
Even last year, we had nobody left, and we still only gave up 3 runs in Game 5 against the Brewers. You know what I mean? Like, I think pitching is at such a high level right now, and run prevention in general is at such a high level right now that I just think the Cubs will be able to get enough outs. The question isn't is the Cubs pitching going to be good enough, or how good does it need to be? I think can it miss enough bats and stay healthy enough to make a deep October run?
Yeah,
I absolutely think it's going to be good enough to make the postseason. It's the offense. Last year, they didn't get to where the Brewers got to because they were absolutely silent for a month and totally mediocre for 3 months. So that's my answer to that question. I don't know what yours is.
Yeah, well, I think it does come down to that, because while we would like to know what level the pitching is at starting October 1st, how well does the offense match up with the starters of the wild card teams? Do you start taking a peek at, or how can this lineup manufacture 3-4 runs against the Phillies? And so, yeah, when offense is at a premium,
right,
you could make the case that could or should be the emphasis, especially come October 1.
And I think Zombro and Hodavi and these guys, I mean, they're going to be able to get outs. If they were able to turn Brad Keller and Thielbar and Pomerantz and Palencia into what they turn those guys into, I think they're going to be able to get out. But we've yet to see. I guess 2023, for the most part, was a pretty complete offensive season from the first month to the last. But, they still slumped for a while. I want to see this offense, with the Bregman addition, with Ballesteros, raise their floor. This offense shouldn't have any month where they're the worst or one of the 2 offenses in baseball. They just shouldn't. If they have one month where they're 20th, fine. But not the absolute worst or as bad as it's been, because I just think that's what's crushed them the last couple of years.
Well, and like you pointed out before, it was 4 months in a row, or if you want to be nice, 3. 11th in July, 27th in August, 11th in September.
Yeah, that's just
that was it was discouraging. And the Zips win projection.
Yeah,
I'm doing manual math.
Yeah,
for the Cubs and Brewers is basically the same, and it's 90 basically.
Yeah, I think that sounds fair, and I think that sounds I think that sounds fair, and I think that sounds correct. Looking at some other teams, is there any other teams? I mean, do I have this right? Dodgers for sure, obviously on paper better than the Cubs right now. Phillies, I really do believe the Cubs Brewers on paper. I actually think the Cubs should be ahead of them on paper. That's all I'm saying. The Mets is interesting, are interesting just because, when you start looking around the diamond now, I mean, they got they got Lindor, they got Soto, they got Robert now, they got Simeon. Do you think the Mets now? Bichette, of course. Do you think in a 7-game series, Cubs Mets? I still, for some reason, think the Cubs would find a way to win that series.
Yeah, because I think they would have an advantage against the starting rotation.
Right.
But right now, on paper, I think it's Dodgers, Phillies, Braves, Mets, Cubs, Brewers.
Dodgers, Phillies. Say that one more time.
Braves,
Oh,
Mets,
Braves. So
Cubs, Brewers.
you have the Braves ahead of the Cubs.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
More of a battle to me was what you asked, Mets or Cubs.
yeah. No, I think that sounds about right.
And then I think the Padres are like a clear 7 for as clear as it could get, 7 teams in. And then
Right.
the other 8, I have no idea.
None. They'll be a surprise team there. That's typically how it works. They'll be a surprise team.
Might be the Pirates.
All right, coming up next, we are going to talk about if the Cubs do have a big move, what possibly could they be cooking up? All right, we're back here on Locked On Cubs. Matt, I don't know if you saw, I sent it over to you. David Kaplan, a friend of the show, was tweeting back at somebody about some potential Cubs moves. And I think somebody was asking him, would it be something on the margins, role guys, or is there something bigger? And he said potentially something bigger. And I've heard that from other
Outlets.
outlets as well. Is that Gallen? Is that what that means?
If you consider Zach Gallen a big move, I think it's got to be him. I think the Cubs would be willing to sign Gallen at like in a like deal, 3 years for 54, maybe a couple escalators in there. And if that's what a big move is as we get into late January, then yeah, I would say that's what it would be. It's hard to believe they would make a trade, another trade for a starting pitcher, because they've traded Cam Smith and Owen Casey, and they're dealing from a system, while not highly ranked. At some point, you have to achieve both. Okay, make good signings and have some of these guys graduate, which I think they're doing for the most part. And the Bregman signing dispelled a lot of concern, I feel, because they did commit a lot of dollars to a single player. So yeah, it's hard to see them parting right now with Ballesteros or Shaw. And would that really bring in an everyday player or a number 1, number 2, or number 3 starter? So I think it would be Zach Gallen at like a 3-year deal, unless the Twins, I have the Twins in mind, unless for some reason they were willing to deal, one of their guys that may help the Cubs. But in terms of free agents, Gallen's pretty much the best of the rest.
Yeah, how many more pitchers? I just,
unless the Cubs' internal system, Ivy, is similar to Zips, where it's just, right, and they're like, oh no, we need to get someone else.
Yeah,
Gallen isn't exciting though. He doesn't really offer upside. He just offers what they already have, which is tremendous depth.
Yeah, but I think at this stage, after everything they did, if they gave Gallen $22 million, that'd be a pretty big news. That would be, because they would also just be so far over the tax for the first time since we've been, doing an on-air program.
Right.
So
and it's been a while since we were an off-air program too.
I tried to think about what a big move could look like outside of a starter. Because
I'd love to know.
Well, well, you're gonna continue to wish you could know, because I don't know.
Okay.
I look at the team.
Let me do some digging on that.
Well, it's just what position. They have no position.
Right, what position's a better question?
Yeah, they have no positions now. Bregman, Swanson, Horner, Bush, Kelly / Amaya. I guess it would be a DH.
So it would be Suarez then, Sam.
Yeah.
Eugenio.
I mean, that would be, right.
So he's the best available bat left.
Yeah.
So either Suarez or Gallen is I think that's the conclusion we're drawing.
Suarez. as a DH,
He
hitting like
strikes out a
7.
lot.
Yeah, and he's the only the case for him. I mean, first of all, then that would really be adios to Matt Shaw at that
Well, he
point.
hit 50 homers last year.
Did he hit 50?
I think he hit like 48. I rounded up.
He just kills the ball. Wrigley.
49 homers, 308 the last 10 years.
Yeah, he's a prolific home run hitter.
He is. That's the word for it.
And the lineup would be diversified with him in it because they don't have a guy that just, they don't have anybody on their team that has the ability to hit 45 home runs. They just don't.
Would they give Suarez 3 years though? Because that's got to be what he wants.
Well, or you give him 1 year.
Okay.
With a player option, and you make the case, hey, you could really build up your value. I guess how could he build up his value even more after a 48 home run year? Because he loves hitting at Wrigley. One of the rare guys these days. But we'll see. I don't.
Well, that's a little bit exciting.
Yeah, well, you just convinced me of it. I didn't think of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Lucas Giolito.
No. Could it be a big reliever? Are there any guys like that left? I just wish this team
in the free agent market, there is Sir Anthony Dominguez.
I just wish this team had a little bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a lead in the bullpen. Like just like a guy that's just like, that's the ninth inning type of guy. I still just don't believe I think I say this once a month and people are probably getting sick of me saying it. Why did the Cubs miss out on Chapman? It was so obvious. That
would have been before what season, though?
Yeah, talking about this year. I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about like we talked about him the last 2 years. The 1 year before Pittsburgh and the 1 year before Boston. He got like $10 million. And he was the best reliever in baseball. And I think he's only
before the 23 season. I think it was only like a 1 year for 5 or something.
I think he's making like 13.5 this year.
Yeah, he was definitely a comeback story.
Yeah, but that's all right. I don't suspect.
Can I interest you in Sir Anthony Dominguez? He's the best reliever left, according to The Athletic.
No, I'm interested to see what's left.
We just mentioned the best starter, reliever, and bat left.
Right. Of course, there's trades and things like that.
Right, I'm
surprised that that's still a thing. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Bellinger off the board now. He returned to the Yankees in what I thought was one of the most hilarious. He was always going to go to the Yankees. And I bet you the Yankees were just like, dude.
Right.
What?
It was one of the more unnecessary journeys in free agent history.
Well, who's his agent? So. But, hey, Scotty's on our good side. He delivered us Alex Bregman. Thank you for making Locked On Cubs your first listen of the day. For those of you on video, we send you to the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel and on audio. Make sure your second listen is Locked On MLB. Matt and I will be back Monday. Maybe there'll be some news to drop on what's been a good offseason for the Chicago Cubs.